Britain votes in election 2024. From north to south, east to west, millions head to the polls across the UK to choose a new government. Also this lunchtime, battered by Beryl, winds of up to 130 miles an hour hammer Jamaica. Backing Biden, governors rally behind the president as pressure mounts for him to quit the race. And British bonanza, not one, not two, but 6 Brits in action at SW19 today.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Lucy Watson.
Good afternoon. After weeks of campaigning, it is time for people in the UK to have their say as millions of voters head to the polls. 40,000 polling stations across the country opened their doors at 7 o'clock this morning. And for the first time ever, people have to show photographic ID to be able to cast their vote. A total of 650 parliamentary constituencies are being contested, with voting closing at 10 p.m. tonight. The party leaders have already appeared at polling booths. Rishi Sunak and his wife voted in his constituency of Richmond in North Yorkshire earlier. Labour's Sir Keir Starmer and Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey were both in London. Our political correspondent Libby Vina has this report on a day of historic significance for the United Kingdom.
Decision day for millions of voters, with polling stations open from 7 this morning. After 6 long weeks of campaigning, it's now time for the country to choose. The man who called the election, the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, was among the first to vote, arriving with his wife at a polling station in his North Yorkshire constituency.
Got some more polling stations.
In London, a short time later, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, arrived with his wife to vote at a polling station in his constituency.
Guys, please, sit down.
Elsewhere in the capital, the Lib Dem leader, Sir Ed Davey, and his wife cast their votes. While in Scotland, the First Minister, John Swinney, was joined by his son, Matthew, at his polling station. Like everyone, they all needed photo ID this time. That could be either a passport, a driving licence, a blue badge, or alternatively you could bring an older person's or disabled person's bus pass. What's not accepted are photocopies, digital ID or veterans' ID cards. In all, 650 parliamentary seats are up for grabs, older persons, with the polls open until 10 p.m. tonight. A chance for the voters not to have their say are photocopies, digital ID or veterans' ID cards. In all, 650 parliamentary seats are up for grabs, with the polls open until 10 p.m. tonight. A chance for the voters to have their say in shaping the future of the country.
Well, Libby joins me now from Westminster. Libby, when will we have an idea of the results?
Well, that's a very good question. In fact, the first results will start coming in about an hour and a half after the polls close. That is around 11:30, but I think it will be much later than that, well into the small hours of tomorrow, that we will get a sense of the full national picture. Now, here outside Parliament, there's a lot of media already gathered, a huge interest, not just from British journalists, but from journalists around the world. As to tomorrow's result, the 4th of July, a very historic day in the United States, but it also looks like it will be a very historic day in Britain.
Libby in Westminster, thank you. And you can watch our special election results programme on ITV1, ITVX and STV from 9:50 tonight. Here are Tom and Anushka with the details.
When the voting's over and the exit poll is revealed, our unrivaled team of experts, including Nicola Sturgeon, George Osborne and Ed Balls, will break down what it means for you, the parties and the country.
And throughout the night, as results come in, we'll be going deep into the data to understand not just who's going to hold power, but how the new mix of MPs will shape the way the UK is run.
It could be one heck of a night, so please do join us for Election 2024, the results, live.
Do join Tom, Anushka and the whole team from 9:50 tonight. Well, abroad now, and the strongest storm ever to hit Jamaica has wreaked havoc on the island overnight, blasting through buildings and knocking out power. Hurricane Beryl has sustained winds of up to 130 miles an hour and is the earliest Category 5 storm to be recorded in July. High winds are now charging towards the Cayman Islands, where the Royal Navy warship HMS Trent is being deployed to help with the relief effort. Chris Jepson has the latest.
As Hurricane Beryl swept through Jamaica, another life was taken. Hundreds of thousands remain without power.
People expected that a direct hit would have devastated the island. Thankfully, that devastation has not occurred, broadly speaking. Even though there has been some damage to road infrastructure, there has been other damage where trees have fallen on power lines and caused disruption. 65% of the Jamaican people were without power. But overall, Jamaicans, I'm thinking collectively, are breathing a sigh of relief because it could have been worse.
The Category 4 storms left destruction in its wake. Stranded on Petite Martinique since Monday, but now in Grenada, this resident said she was tossed around in floodwater before getting shelter in a church.
We had to run from one place to a next place. Nothing, I tell you, everything has gone.
Veronica survived 37 hours without food or water and had to bury one of her neighbours.
After the eye, I think you say that comes after. No, I didn't think I would have made it. I thought that was the end of me.
Princess cut off from her children for days.
I tried to give up, but I couldn't.
Counting the cost of Beryl, these fishermen in Barbados lost around 40 boats.
All the vessels in here have damage. All have damage. Structural damage, but we got a good few vessels that is on the water.
In the Cayman Islands, shelters are primed, homes boarded up, sandbags ready.
I'm feeling a bit anxious, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep calm because I have my son, as well as if anyone else in the community or around me needs help. I'm just trying to keep calm, but I am anxious and a bit scared.
Calm before the storm on Mexico's beaches, where Beryl's heading next.
We'll just take advice from the hotel and the reps that are there, but we're not too scared.
As Mexico prepares for Beryl, the Royal Navy's HMS Trent's expected to arrive in the Caribbean with much needed aid. Chris Jepson, ITV News.
A former schoolteacher has been jailed at Manchester Crown Court for 6.5 years for 6 counts of engaging in sexual activity with a child. Rebecca Joynes, who's 30, was previously found guilty of having sex with 2 schoolboys. She groomed her victims and fell pregnant by one while on bail. She was described as a sexual predator in court. Questions persist this lunchtime about President Biden's mental agility to compete in the race for the White House. 20 high-level Democrats told him last night they had his back, but others have been urging him to withdraw from the contest after his poor performance in the televised debate against Donald Trump last week. Since then, the US president has sought to reassure both his party and the public that he is up to the job. Overnight, a video of Donald Trump making rude remarks about Joe Biden and his vice president emerged on his social media site.
How did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, amazing.
Kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
Well, our US correspondent Dan Rivers, who is in Washington for us, has been following every twist and turn of this. Dan, the next few days will be vital, won't they?
They will, yeah. I mean, that's a soundbite from Donald Trump. I think, a brutal assessment, but also a bit of wishful thinking. I think he would like it to be a contest between him and Kamala Harris, the vice president. I think the Republicans feel that she would perform worse against Donald Trump than Joe Biden would. But, there is continuing pressure on Joe Biden today. Last night, he had this meeting with Democratic governors, some of whom actually went to the White House to sort of, have a talk with him, a candid talk, they said. Afterwards, I talked to the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. Here's what he told me about the meeting. What would you say to people in your own party who say the game is up, enough's enough?
No, I would say this. In November, we've got a clear choice. The president was very clear that he is in this to win this. And the president is our nominee. The president is our party leader. And the president has told us, and he was very clear back there, that he is in this to win this.
Well, Dan, do you think that Biden can ride this out, or is it simply game over, do you think?
Well, I think this is a critical 48 hours now for Joe Biden. There is immense pressure. The official line from the White House repeatedly given in press briefings yesterday was he is running. They are trying to kill this idea that there's any kind of questioning. But look, that debate performance in Atlanta was a complete catastrophe. They have acknowledged that. They are leaning into that in some respects. Joe Biden himself in a radio interview said that he screwed it up, using his words. So they've admitted it didn't go well. He's giving an interview tomorrow on Friday here to the American network ABC. I think that will be critical as well, his performance in that. If there's one more incident of him freezing, stumbling or mumbling, I think that the pressure is going to be really, really mounting on him to reconsider his bid for November's election.
Let's see what the next few days bring. Dan, thank you. Still ahead, the criminals cashing in on counterfeit Euro 2024 football shirts. Our exclusive report. And the Brits flying the flag at Wimbledon. Before that, the Metropolitan Police has agreed to review its investigation into a car crash that killed two 8-year-old girls last summer in Wimbledon. It's after concerns were raised by the schoolgirls' families, who claim the inquiry was not thorough enough. Aisha Zahid is outside the Met for us now. Aisha, this all comes after an announcement last week about the driver, doesn't it?
That's right. Last week, the Crown Prosecution Service announced the driver wouldn't be facing criminal charges, and that's because she suffered an epileptic seizure behind the wheel. And they say that she could have in no way predicted nor prevented the incident from happening. Of course, that caused a lot of upset among the families. But today we do have this review launched by the Metropolitan Police into their own investigation of the fatal collision which killed the two 8-year-old girls. And they say that they've launched this review because of the concerns raised by the families. Now, Nuria Sajjad and Selina Lau were both killed last year on the 6th of July after a Land Rover crashed through a fence and hit a building at the study prep school in Wimbledon while the school had been hosting an end-of-term party for its pupils. Both families came together in a statement and said they're unconvinced the police investigation was a thorough one and that they're upset by the CPS decision because they believe it denied them justice. However, the Metropolitan Police has said its officers worked tirelessly throughout the course of the investigation, and they hope that through this review they'll be committed to addressing the family's questions.
Aisha, thank you. In other news, police have found the remains of a young girl killed by a crocodile in northern Australia. The child, who was on holiday with her family, was last seen swimming in Mango Creek, which is in a remote area around 7 hours from Darwin. The Northern Territory is home to the world's largest wild crocodile population. And Europe's tallest active volcano, Mount Etna, has come alive again after it spewed lava into the sky. Etna is located in Sicily and hasn't erupted for 4 years. Next is Lunchtime. How Euro 2024 is driving profits for the criminals cashing in on counterfeit shirts and the pub owners as fans flock to bars and pubs to watch the games. And it's not only pints we're paying out for. Sales of tellies and food are also up. Our consumer editor Chris Choi has this from Birmingham.
Well, judging by these new figures, the UK's retail and hospitality sectors are already clear winners from this Euro 24 tournament. We all know there was a fairly sluggish start to summer. The weather wasn't great at the start of June, but it looks like every goal in the football tournament is a win for retail. Let me show you today's new figures. They're showing that overall there was a 4% rise in visits to shopping centres in June, month on month. But just look at this. If we take that match between England and Denmark, they're talking about a 25% rise in footfall to high streets. That's quite remarkable. And the figures show that the areas that benefited the most were those close to office developments. But the police are warning of a darker side to this sales boom, and this is the kind of thing that they're talking about: counterfeit shirts. We've been told of raids and arrests as part of a national crackdown on this trade. Earlier, I spoke to one of the officers in charge of the operation.
In terms of counterfeiting products, then we know the latest figures from the Intellectual Property Office would indicate that there's a £9 billion loss to the economy. It has an effect of 80,000 jobs annually. So it's a huge problem right now. And I even look at the operations that we do, certainly in relation to this. We've seized in excess of £100,000 worth of counterfeit football tops.
Well, it's easy to see why shoppers are tempted by shirts like this. This was around £20 from an open-air market in London yesterday. The official replicas are on sale for around £85. It's easy to see too why retailers are now cheering for the Euro tournament, perhaps more than the rest of us are.
Chris Joy with that report from Birmingham. Now, what a day it will be at Wimbledon today. The Murray brothers take to centre court this afternoon in what will be the start of Andy Murray's farewell to SW19. Elsewhere, the British #1 Jack Draper will face the former British #1 Cam Norrie, and there's an all-British clash in the women's too, with Katie Boulter and Harriet Dart. Well, Ellie Pitt is there for us today. Ellie, almost too much to watch.
Definitely, it's being called Thriller Thursday because it's practically back-to-back non-stop British action. As we speak, it's one game all as Edinburgh's Jacob Fernley faces 7-time Wimbledon champ Novak Djokovic, and Katie Boulter is beating Harriet Dart in the women's singles. Later, it's expected to be a fiery match between British #1 Jack Draper as he meets with Cameron Norrie, and Draper has already said that he thinks that's going to be a tough one because the pair know each other's style of play so well. But the match that everyone's talking about really is the Murray brothers teaming up in men's doubles for the first time in Wimbledon history, and it must be bittersweet for Andy Murray because he said this will be his last Wimbledon. He's already pulled out of the singles, but yesterday we did have that surprise announcement that he's going to enter the mixed doubles with Emma Raducanu, so it does feel like he's trying to squeeze every last opportunity to play here.
Well, we're here for the Murray brothers. It could be the last time he's ever at Wimbledon, so he's going to go out with a bang. What a champion.
He's one of our greatest ever sportsmen, and he has also won the Olympic Games here in 2012, so they don't get much better.
Part of me is obviously wanting him to win, but if we see his last doubles match on centre court today, I would absolutely love it. We've seen him quite a few times and he's just amazing to watch and done some fantastic things for British tennis.
The fans that I've spoken to as well say it's really right that Andy Murray gets a decent send-off at the home of British tennis because he's given so much to this place over the years. So they want to see him go out in style as he bids farewell to Wimbledon.
Ellie, enjoy the day. Now, just before we go, remember the matching purple wedding look the Beckhams wore more than 2 decades ago? Well, they've recreated it. The couple has released a photograph of the iconic throne scene to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary, and they've shared it on social media. Alongside it, they wrote, "Look what we found. Can't believe it's been 25 years and they still fit." Well, that's your news this afternoon. Mary will be here later at 6:30. But from all of us on the Lunchtime team, bye-bye.
Today